All right, awesome animation students. Let's continue with our tutorial. So go ahead and if you haven't already opened up your third scene, or I would say lesson three file where we're at here. All right. And as you're getting ready and opening that up, let me just go ahead and tell you that today we are going to go through our animating some filters. Now, you've already animated one filter, the alpha filter, which is the blur. I mean, sorry, the transparency. But now we're actually going to work with the blur, and we're not only going to just apply the blur, but we're actually going to animate it so it has a certain movement. In other words, from blurry to sharp, right? And we're also going to animate the sizes of different objects. So if you notice here, with the cars, they start really small and then they grow really large here. If you've seen these cars, they come to the front, so it gives the illusion that they're moving forward, right? In reality, all they're doing is they're animating. Oops, let me move that back. They're animating the size. All right, so we're going to do two things. We're going to blur this lady out in the background, this actress, and then it's going to be like racking focus on a movie camera where it's out of blur and then it comes into focus to give it more realism. And we're also going to add another car to this, to the third car over here on the left hand side. So let's get started. So the very first thing we're going to do here, right, is we're going to make sure that you're at this point here, and we're going to, I'm going to go ahead and open this up a little bit, right? Because I want to see a little bit more layers. Okay, and then I'm going to hit the fill in the little area, right? And so what we're going to do next is we're going to unlock the woman layer. Let's actually lock everything. Boom. And just unlock. And again, you just hit this little lock and it'll unlock and lock everything. You hit it again, it unlocks. But I'm going to lock everything except we're going to unlock the woman. Now, here's a little trick that some of you probably already figured out. When you lock something, there's no way for you to select the man. You're only going to select the girl. If the man was unlocked, it would be hard to select the girl because you see this blue box? It's the man and the gentleman, right? He's in the forefront of the picture. So it's hard to get to her. You can't really get to her because his graphic, even though it's transparent on some parts, it's blocking you from selecting her. So if you lock him, right, now you can select her really easy. So if you don't lock him, you're going to be struggling with this assignment right now. You're going to be struggling with trying to get him or trying to select her. So my advice, lock him up and lock all the layers except for her. So no matter what you click on, the only thing you can click on is her. That is a big tip. I'm going to give it to you right now for all animation projects. And that's what layers are also good for, is that when you are working with layers, that you're able to lock everything and just unlock the one you're working on. So it makes it easier to select that particular item instead of having to click everywhere and trying to guess and try to figure it out and try to move things around. Just lock it. And the only thing you can select is what you have unlocked. All right. Hopefully that makes sense and then you're able to work with it. All right. So she's selected now, right? We've unlocked and selected the woman layer, right? And now we're going to go to, frame 23 on that woman layer, okay? We're going to go to frame 23. Okay, and again, if you click this little area, see where this little area right here? You can actually go to frame 23 right there on the top. Because that little area, right here, this little frame rate counter here tells you exactly where this blue timeline is. All right, so watch this as I move this. You see how it works? Conversely, if you just want to move it over, you just double click that and you want to be precise, you just go punch in 23. Boom, it's there. I punched it in manually. And now we're there on the woman layer, right? So we're here and something's already happening, right? You already have a keyframe here and it's already golden. And if you realize that she's coming in from transparency to opacity, in other words, you're not going to be able to see her. She's there, and you can see with in this area here, you can see the keyframe lines. You know, all the little tweens that are in between. So she's still there. You just can't see it because the transparency is all the way down. and then she comes into view. So there's already motion there. All right, so it should be gold. Then so next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to select her, and we know she's the only thing we can select, so we just click anywhere here, and that blue outline is her. All right, and all of a sudden you go to your properties box and you go to object if it's not already defaulting there, and we're going to go down all the way to filters. Now there's no filters here, right? And what we want to actually do is we want to give her a blur, right, in the section. So we're going to go down here to filter, and you have to hit this plus button. I'm clicking around it, right? There you go. Boom. And there it is. You add filter, and it gives you a list of filters: drop, shadow, blur, glow. And we've already messed with this a little bit. But again, this has to be, you have to see the little blue outline, or else this filter box is not going to pop up. All right. So again, check that you're on frame 23. You see the blue box, and this filters here will show up. Again, filters, and then we're going to go ahead and hit blur. Okay. And it's going to give us some options here. It opened a blur. Now this little padlock may not be locked. Let's lock it up. And so basically whatever you do to X, we will also do to Y simultaneously. So right now it's at 4. The blur is at 4 and 4. We want to basically set this this blur value. Let me go back real quick. Let me see, where do we want to add the blur? Okay, we want to add the blur X value to 20. 20. You see that? Right there. All right, we're going to keep the quality low, right? And let's go ahead and move the playhead. So once we did that, even though there's already some movement, which is the transparency, now it's not only going to be transparent, but if we move the playhead, she's super blurry. Okay, you see that already in the background. So we apply the blur, and the blur stays blurry all the way through the entire animation and stops. It never goes away because we applied a filter, right? But we want to start her from transparent and blurry, and we want her to come into focus as the animation finishes. That's what we want to do. Now, there's a way to do that. We're going to do that right now. So now that we have her blurred out, right, we're going to navigate to frame 140. And again, you can just drag it over to 140. But again, if you want to be precise, you can double click over here and hit 140, and it'll take you straight there. All right. And now we're at keyframe 40, right? Now we're going to do something a little different. So we're just going to insert a keyframe, and it's right here, this little area here, and it's moving around doing it, right? I'm sorry, I messed that up. Go to 140, right? No big deal. But here, this little box here, okay, it adds, I just clicked it and it added a keyframe. Do you see the little diamond? This is insert keyframe. Do you see it now? All right, hopefully you do. That's what, if you want to insert a keyframe, it just inserted a keyframe right there at 140. So already we know that there's movement, a change. Remember, keyframes mean change. So you drop the keyframe here and it changes it to blurry and transparent. It starts moving up. Right here is another key change. And this is, we're basically going to leave that there because that's going to be a spot where we're saying the blur needs to change here. All right. But right now we're not telling it what to do. We're going to do that in the next step. All right. And over here in the, again, we'll click on her. All right. And we insert keyframe. Right. And if you haven't done so already, let's go ahead and click the properties panel, the object. And we have a new blur here, right? We have the blur. And this blur value, we're going to go to 0. All right. And hit enter. Again, blur. It's the same blur value. So now at this keyframe here, right? This keyframe here, the blur starts. And the keyframe here, look at her. She's already cleared out. Super cleared out. Okay. So now this is kind of cool, right? This is kind of cool. What's going to happen? I'm going to show you right now. Because we told it we want it to be clear here, and here we started, it was going to be blurry. Your assistant, which is Adobe Animate, is going to gradually, frame by frame, think of it as those flipbook cards, one at a time, gradually make it a little bit clearer until it gets to 140, and it's going to be she's going to be completely clear. So we can test this out by going all the way back. Okay. Here's the blur. We're going to start this. She's blurry. Boom. She's clear. She's clearing up. Now she's super clear. Boom. She's clear all the way to the end. That's how you create a transparency, or that's how you animate your effects. All right. Really cool. Really easy. All right. So hopefully you're able to do that. But you can also do, you can do more than one filters. Right now we have the alpha and the blur. If you want to get creative, you can do another one also, right? And if you want to see what each keyframe has, you can actually click on the keyframe and then right click it, and you can see view keyframes, and you can see you can check all the ones that it has in it, right? It has a position keyframe, a scale keyframe, a skew keyframe, a rotation, color, and filter keyframe, because we added those. So there you go. Simple as that, right? So we've added her. Now we're going to go ahead and move over to adding that other car. And then after that, I'm going to want you to play with it in your shapes playground, right? That's a little playground when you learn your concepts here. And I want you, when you have no restrictions, I want you to go play with it. And I'm gonna let you guys do that in a second. So the last thing I want to show you is how to make transformations, right? We want to make where we give the illusion of something growing, right? Or getting closer to you, right? So we're going to basically, we're going to be using this free transform tool, and we're going to be using a different layer. We're going to be doing a bunch of different things. So let's go ahead and lock up the woman layer, and we can do it single, or you can just go ahead and hit the lock all on and all off. And we're actually going to add a layer, a new layer. Boom. Right. And I'm going to unlock the cars layer for a second, because I want to get this new layer that I made and drag it into the cars layer. And I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to rename it left underscore car. Right? You see that? Right there. Left underscore car. All right. So basically we're going to put a left car there, but obviously it's not a motion tween yet, because you see, and we already know that from the last lesson. So it's basically just an empty track that we made, right? An empty layer. We named it, and then now we're going to do, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to frame 75. So just click over here, and then in your frame, just hit 75. And let's go ahead and lock up the middle car and the right car. So everything is locked up except for the left car. Again, that way you can't select anything and mess anything around. So we're actually here at the left car. I want you to click the left car so it's highlighted blue and everything is blue. And you're on frame 75. That's where the timeline is at. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to add an insert keyframe, right? And again, we can click this button over here. And then of course it'll add our keyframe right there. Boom. And it just did. If you notice right there, it dropped in a keyframe. So keyframe means change. That means something has to come up. So we're going to grab, now we're there. We're going to come up here to library, right? And in our library, we're going to look for a symbol called car left. Again, up here, library tab, right? Then we're going to go to a symbol called car left, right? And we're going to drag that bad boy right onto the stage. Boom, boom. And there it is. Monstrous car. Don't worry about positioning. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty in a second, and I'll give you all those numbers so we can position it exactly. Right now, just concentrate on getting that car onto the stage. And we just did that. All right. So we got our symbol there. Now using the, we can go over here and the second tool down over here, right? It's the free transform tool. And all of a sudden these handles come out. There's 9 handles that you can basically mess with. And we're actually going to shrink this up, right? We want it smaller. But we want to also be precise, right? We want to be precise when we mess with this, right? So we're going to go to the properties panel. We're out of the library because we already got the car. Go to the properties panel, and the car is still selected. You see everything here. We're actually going to go to position and size right here. Okay. And the width of the graphic. And again, make sure that this is locked. Let's go ahead and lock this. Okay. We locked that. If it's unlocked, lock the width and the height, the W and H, and then just click on it. And then we're going to go ahead and type in 400, right? Boom. We actually, oh, mine shifted a little bit, 400. Boom. So now if you look at the little car over here, right? You look at the car, it is really tiny, right? So we actually want to position it somewhere else. So from the width, right? From here, width and height, we're going to jump over here to the X and Y. And the X is going to be, let's enter it together, 710, 710, 710, right? And I'll hit enter. And the Y positioning, again, their coordinates, is going to be 488, 488, 488. That's going to be our Y positioning. So now it's the perfect size as far as how small it is. And it's also the right position. And again, you could have dragged these handles and made the shape larger or smaller, right? You can just grab these, and then I'm holding down shift as I click and drag, but we wanted it to be precise. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this at 400 pixels, right? And it's already there. And so you should see something like that, right? So again, it's gonna appear, and it's gonna come in at that moment in time, right? It's just gonna appear out of nowhere. It's not gonna fade in. It's just going to appear, right? And then once we have that done, let's go to let me see. Let's go to the alpha effects, right? Let's select that car again, right? Make sure that you have all those 9 points over here. You selected that, right? And I'm centering that. I just click the button to center it. And then let's go to color effects, right? And let's go to alpha, right? And we want the alpha to be 0. We want it to be completely out, right? You still see it selected because we still see the 9 boxes up here, or the 9 little points. It's really 8 plus the pivot point, but you get what I'm saying. So it's at 0. So now the car is totally transparent. All right. But it's not really doing anything yet because look over here. We haven't made it into a motion tween because we're going to actually make it into a motion tween. So if we come up here in the center of all these tools, right over here, right in the center over here, this, clicking that center area gives us the motion tween option. So I'll click that, boom. And there it is. And if you look at the symbol, it's about to change in a second. Okay. So now we've made this a motion tween. Click that. I'm sorry. Click that. Now it's a motion tween. That's why it's grayed out. Mine is grayed out. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move the playhead over to frame 100, right? You can manually do it like I did it, right? Or you can just type it in here, just like we just did it a moment ago. All right. And now what we're going to do is, guess what? We're going to make sure that the transparency of the car is still selected. So if it's not selected, we're going to come up to properties, right? And again, click on the car if you need to. When you click on the car, even though you see this, then the properties bar will come up. The alpha is at 0. Guess what we're going to do now? We're going to bring it all the way up to 100. Right, the little slider, the alpha slider under color effects. And if you look over here, it already made basically a keyframe for you. So it knows that it's gradually going to fill this section up here with tweens. It's a motion tween. So card by card, it's going to bring it into opacity. All right, and let's test that out right now. So there's no car. The first car shows up. And then the second car, there you go, it's starting to get into view. And the third car shows up. Boom, they're all in the front. Really cool, right? So again, now you apply opacity to a symbol. But we're not happy yet, right? We look at the other two. They look like they're moving. And we want to do that kind of same effect as well to the car. And after we're done with that, we're going to move on. So now that we're moving, we've made the size, and we worked on the opacity. Let's go, and we've already had the keyframe inserted. We're going to also make the size bigger, right? So again, we can make it big. We can click and drag and make it bigger. Or right here, when we click the car, the size, we're going to want the width to 1380. 1380. Okay, right up here. 1380. Boom. Right? And the X position, it may default to 1379.9, but that's just the way it works. Sometimes it just rounds it off, it truncates it. So X, or truncates it, I should say. X position, we want it at 607. Enter. And the Y position, we want at 545, 545. All right. So now we got it in the right spot where we want it. It doesn't look right though, right? It doesn't look right because it's on top of this car. So what do you think we have to do with it? All right. Think for a second. I'll let you kind of think what you need to do with that. How would you move that behind that vehicle? All right. Under other, in Microsoft Word or Google Docs, you would right click it and then say move backwards. But we don't really necessarily do that in Animate. We actually all we have to do is grab the layer and push it down one. And see what it did? It pushed it behind the vehicle. So now, once we made it larger here on this keyframe, it was smaller. Now everything in between, it gradually made it bigger. So now it's not only coming into opacity, but it's also moving forward. And it stops all the way to the end. Boom. Go ahead and hit File, Save for me. Save all your work. All right. And that's pretty much what you need to do for this particular tutorial. All right. You guys did a great job. What I want you to do now is I need you to practice, right? So you're going to go to File and you can go to Open Recent, right? And you can go to your Moving Shapes tutorial. And I want you to, I'm going to go ahead and blow this up to 200, right? What I want you to do is I actually want you, as it's moving, as it's moving for some of these, I'm going to use my ball, right? I'm going to lock all these up and I'm going to basically unlock the ball so I can only select the ball, right? And as its alpha is going to be there, I'm going to move it to where it's right there, probably right about there. Okay. And I'm going to click on the ball, right? And then I'm going to get my free transform tool. I'm already click on it. And I'm going to hold down Shift, grab one of the edges. I'm going to make it really tiny, right? And then with my ball, I'm going to continue it. It's moving around. And then when we get to about right here, I'm going to grab it again. I'm going to make it really big. Right? So now, motion tweening, now if I hit play, comes into view, small, boom. So now I'm having some movement. Oh, I really didn't like that. All right? I didn't like that it kept on moving once it was super big like that. So let me go ahead and undo that. Where's that keyframe? Boom. I'll grab that keyframe and move it over. So see what happens. Small, and then boom, it goes big. Perfect. So we got some movement there, right? So I want you to play with the shapes. I want you to play with that. But so you got it small to big. And then of course, I also want you to work with, and I'm going to unlock this and go to my square. I want you to play with some of the effects, right? So I'm going to go back to the original keyframe. And with this one, I'm going to get a little fancy, right? I'm going to click on the box. I'm actually going to make it small. Oops, I didn't hold down Shift. Okay, undo. I'm going to make this one small. But I'm also going to make it transparent with the alpha. And this is what we did in the past tutorial, right? So there's no, this recent tutorial, so there's nothing hidden, right? And then I'm going to move it to probably, let me go to 20, I'll go to 25, right? and I'll click on the square. And I'm going to make this, hold it. I'm going to free transform it a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. I want alpha at 50%. But I'm also going to add a filter over here. I'm going to do a blur. I'm going to do this to 25, right? And then I'll move over a little bit on my square. Grab my free transform tool, make that a big square, right? And then I'm going to take the blur to 0, right? I'm going to make this go back smaller or medium size. I'll continue this all the way through. To right about here. Click on this again, making sure I see everything. I'll put the alpha at 100%, right? I'm going to grab the edge and I'll make it bigger. All right. And now that I don't have any blur, I'm going to see if I can, with my free transform tool, I want to make a diamond. See, we got that little turn. So now let's see what happens here. Let me go back over here, hit play. All right. So it definitely did some cool stuff there. All right, let me go down to 100% here so that we can, or 150, so we can actually see where everything's at. So it's going off a little off the stage, so I don't like that. So I'm going to bring this kind of down here. I'll deselect it. All right. Grab my selection tool, V. All right. And this hit play. The ball, it's blurry and it comes into opacity and it starts growing and moving and pulsating, grows big and small. So there you go. I played with it. I want you to play with those effects so that you can start getting used to your movement. I'm going to tell you on your next project that you're going to be turning into me, your big project, which is you're going to start working on Friday and you're going to finish it. You're going to have Friday, Monday to work with it. Is you're going to be animating the artwork that you did for me a while back. Your artwork, I want you to animate that artwork, right? So I know Miguel in my Manuel, I'm sorry, not Miguel. Manuel in my 7th period made a alien abduction, which he had the flying saucer and then the little figure in the bottom. I'm gonna want that little figure to be animated up and maybe the flying saucer to come in or come out. I think it'll be looking real cool. I'll go and give everybody some suggestions if you want, but that's not until Friday. Today, I want you to play with this. So play with your shapes and understand how these work so that when you're trying to create, you have the tools you need to create and you're not worried about it. You can just focus on creating. Go ahead and hit File, Save, right before we close out here. When you're done, hold on to it. We're going to turn that in at a later date, but it has to have all of these different things on it. Guys, this is Mr. Juarez. Again, we'll see you soon. Over and out.